Welcome to the First Cut Podcast, and this is your round 3 recap of the U.S. Open at Winged Foot. And joining me tonight is Kyle Porter and Doug Bell. Great to have you boys. Kyle, what's going on tonight? What'd you think of the action today?
It was great. I wanted a little more carnage than we got. A little, maybe a few more ejections than we saw on Saturday. But look, I mean, you can't argue with the board. I mean, the board is great. It's going to be a really fun Sunday. I'm fired up to see we're running it back on both the 3M and the Rocket Mortgage Classic from earlier this year.
Yeah, going to be exciting. These two are developing a little bit of a history. But Doug, I want to welcome you in as well. Welcome to the show. What'd you think of it? Are you with Kyle? Were you hoping for a little more carnage today, or were you excited about it?
Well, I think there was plenty of carnage, and I can't wait to watch the replay later. I'm fascinated by what's going to transpire tomorrow. You know, it was interesting. I heard this today at Winged Foot. If you hit 2 fairways, your average score is 77. And somehow Matthew Wolff hits 2 fairways and cards the 65. I mean, that was a remarkable round. That was the third round. I know he wishes that was the final round, but we're going to be talking about this third round for a long time. The kid hits 2 fairways, his first ever U.S. Open. He's 21 years old, and he's on the cusp. I mean, it's pretty darn exciting. It really is. And the fact that he's playing with DeChambeau is unbelievable.
I do think what Doug said about Wolff being 21 gets a little lost. Sometimes we do this thing where we group, like, I don't know, Cam Champ and Bryson and Hovland and all these guys into the same bucket. Matthew Wolff is 21 years old. Nobody else is in that bucket. It's him and Joaquin Niemann. How old is Sung Jae? Is Sung Jae 22 yet? Producer Jacob, you probably sent him a happy birthday card. I think Sung Jae. I think Sung Jae just turned 22. So if we're talking about 21-year-olds, I mean, Golf Channel flashed a graphic after the round: 54-hole leaders at the U.S. Open over the last 50 years that were 21. It's Tiger, it's Spieth, timestamp, it's Rory in 11. And it's Matthew Wolff. So that's just I think sometimes we we group everybody into he's really young. Well, Matthew Wolff is really young at age 21, and I think it matters to kind of point that out.
With a win, he would be the youngest winner of the U.S. Open since Bobby Jones in 1923. So it would be great to see. But history at Winged Foot is not necessarily in his favor. The average final round score for 54-hole leaders at Winged Foot is nearly 77. 76.8.
Wow.
Nobody has ever shot better than 74 at Winged Foot with the final round lead. So the odds are not in his favor. But Kyle, you're right. He is in that elite company of players, and I think it comes from elite driving. Although today he only hit 2 fairways, and as Doug mentioned, the average score hitting 2 fairways is 77. He shoots 65. Is this just a new era? Is the rough, as we handicap events, is the rough overrated, or was this just a remarkable performance out of Matthew Wolff?
Both. I can't imagine. I mean, what did we hear all week? Oh, the rough. Look at the rough. Has it been a factor? I mean, I guess sort of, but I almost feel like the guys that we see that are playing poorly, like Patrick Reed today, it wasn't the rough that got him. It was the fact that his short game just faltered around the greens, right? I mean, look at 10 where he hits it. I mean, he wasn't in the rough there. He was in, I think it was the first cut. Shout out to, we can play the Spieth one-liner there, freaking first cut. Yeah, there we go. So it's less to me about I think the rough, like, why even have fairways? Andy Johnson of the Fried Egg pointed this out. Like, the narrower you make the fairway, the less like it matters if you're an accurate driver. The less being Brendan Todd matters, because if everybody's in the rough, then you're just rewarding the guys that are the longest. And we've talked about this before, but I don't know. I'm interested to see, maybe that catches up to Bryson and Matthew Wolff on Sunday. Maybe not. But yeah, I think you're right. I just don't think we can take into account. I'm not going to go into another U.S. Open until it's proven to me, thinking that the rough is going to be anything other than just sort of a, something that's there that's a little bit of a nuisance.
Yeah, and I think it does have an effect, right, Doug? I mean, there are players that you don't necessarily see who are in the morning wave, players who are just barely making the cut, who may be having a really hard time with the rough. We don't see them on TV. The guys we see on TV are the guys that are handling it well. So, where do you sit with the rough, Doug? Are you thinking that we may be overrated, or are you thinking that this just speaks to the ability level of these players? I mean, Brendan Todd has hit 30 of 42 fairways. That leads the field by 5 fairways. Yet he's not really in contention, and we thought that was the most important thing. Is this just a changing of the guard, or is this something that's been going on for a long time? What's your view?
Boy, a combination of everything you talked about. Number one, these kids, and I say kids, 21 years old. Let's just keep emphasizing that. But they're supremely gifted, supremely talented. They learned from Tiger Woods the work that you have to put into it, and here they are. And listen, here's the deal. Yes, I think the rough is penal, and I think these guys have been lucky somewhat, and I think eventually that luck will run out. Matthew Wolff is not only hitting great iron shots, his putting has been off the charts. 26 total putts today at Winged Foot. I mean, how crazy is that? Yeah. But let me throw this out here. We talked about it. Colin Morikawa wins the PGA. There's no gallery. Matthew Wolff now is in position in his first ever U.S. Open to win at 21. No gallery. I think that is significant. I think if you had the normal gallery, thousands and thousands of people moving around and clamoring, I don't think the scores would be as good. I don't think these young guys would be as successful as they are. So that's my belief. I think they need to take advantage now, because when the crowds start pouring back in, it brings in a whole different element. And listen, I can't wait to see how he handles the pressure tomorrow. Wow. I mean, is that going to be monumental pressure that he's never experienced before? And neither is DeChambeau. So that even adds even more intrigue to tomorrow's final round.
So the top three, the only 3 guys that are under par, Louis Oosthuizen's 1 under. He's hit 19 fairways out of 42. Bryson is 3 under, and he has hit, 15 fairways? And then he's hit 17 fairways. And then Matthew Wolff is 5 under, and he's hit 12 fairways on the week. Wow. 12 out of 42. There's only 3 guys that have hit fewer, and they're all not even close to the top of the board. So I agree. I think it's going to be interesting. Does that catch up to you? Because I think the way that he sort of managed his ball around the second 9 on Saturday was unbelievable. I mean, he had so many opportunities to make double, and he would just kind of course correct. I mean, 16, Greg, he could have easily made double there if he would have gone for that hero shot out of the I think he was on the left-hand side, just trying to hit it through the trees there. He didn't. He got himself back in the fairway, nearly made par. And I just thought, I mean, to be 21 and to have like the mental acuity to be able to do that in that moment, I thought that was pretty impressive.
Well, that spot left of 16, you're kind of on the other side of the trees. What's fascinating is you feel like you can kind of go left of the trees and hit a cut around the corner. It's very tempting. It's a difficult shot, but you want to get it up by the green. You want to go for it laying up as something that's a challenge, especially when all day long you've been in trouble. If you call it trouble, you've been in the rough, and all of a sudden you're advancing it on the green and often giving yourself quality birdie looks. So I thought I agree with you, Kyle. I think that was a very wise decision. And he's just able to handle the difficulty of the golf course with his I think it's with his distance, right? He's able to have wedges out of the rough onto these greens, and I don't think it's I don't think it's affecting him the way that we expected because of the club that he's hitting in. So
yep. No, that's right. Hey, do you think Sunday is the hardest day for the course? Because I think we look at Friday, the wind was up. I think that's ultimately what affected it. Saturday was, I don't know, it was kind of hard. It wasn't, Rory said after his round, look, if the wind's up, it's a different story, essentially. Do you think we see a setup, regardless of the wind, that is the most difficult setup and the firmest on Sunday than we've seen all week?
It's interesting. I thought heading in to yesterday, we talked about this last night, that Saturday I thought would be the toughest day but it turned out to be kind of backwards day. It was windy in the morning. I live probably 15 minutes north of Wingfoot, and I was taking my boy to soccer, and it's howling. And I'm sitting out there thinking, these boys are going to be in for it because it's just the morning. This afternoon, it's going to get so firm and so fast. It's going to be crazy. And then it stopped. The wind stopped. It was basically nothing.
Yeah.
So I will be very interested to see what happens tomorrow. But Doug, what do you think? You think they're going to set it up with some crazy pins tomorrow?
Yes, I think it's going to be absolutely zany. I think the whole locations will be incredibly hard. And again, we just need to emphasize the intense pressure on these players in the final round on a Sunday at Wingfoot. And this is interesting too, because earlier in the week, obviously Thursday and Friday wasn't set up as difficult as it could have been. And Paul Azinger kept talking about they were trying to get the guys through before it got dark. And a friend of mine who works for the USGA who's up there, and I texted him, and he said, yes, that's accurate. At the same time, he talked about there was a little disagreement between the USGA and the people at Wingfoot, the course superintendent, on the setup. The people at Wingfoot want it to be more difficult. They don't want somebody to go 3 or 4 under par, right? And so, yeah, I think Sunday is going to be really, really difficult. And just the intense pressure, and I need to keep emphasizing that. I don't think people realize what these guys are going to be going through tomorrow for 4.5 hours. It's going to be wild. And listen, with every bogey, with every 5 or 6 foot par putt, it gets even more pressurized. That's what's fun.
Yeah, I'm really waiting to see what happens. And Patrick Reed was an example of this today. On that second 9, it can get away from you really quickly. And especially if there are just so few birdie holes, you feel like you can never make it up. With 16 being the par 4, normal day, that's a par 5. With 12 playing as long as it's playing, you can't really reach it in 2. There's after 11 where Reed made double, there's no real give me birdie opportunities. So it's a real challenge. And Bryson seemed to handle it really well today. He's been playing some great golf. He finds himself in second place. This was a place, Kyle, where you, not just you, myself included, we didn't really think this was going to be a Bryson setup, yet he's shown that he has a great advantage with his length, and his strategy is proven to work. And he, like Matthew Wolff, I think they both came and tied 4th at the PGA, the only other major of the year.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to have them back in the mix. What are you thinking? What are you expecting out of Bryson going forward? What did you see today? I'm assuming you're like me, you're a little bit surprised to see him here in the mix.
I am surprised. But I think you're right. I mean, look, there's just a difference between Bryson missing a fairway and Patrick Reed missing a fairway. I mean, you saw it off the first hole. Bryson's 320 and Pat Reed is like 288 or whatever. And it's just different. Like, you're just going to play differently from those distances on a course like that. I think that I've been impressed with his ability to kind of manage himself around the greens. That's the part where I watched him at Memorial and you're like, oh, that did not look great. Like, when it's straightforward, when it's in front of him, okay, fine. But when you have to manage some of these angles, I know he's the, mathematician or whatever, but it hasn't necessarily worked well in the past. I think that's the part that I'm more impressed. The length is the length, whatever. That's just going to be there. But the ability to manage yourself around when guys that are supposed to have more feel or whatever are not doing it, that's the part where I'm like, wow, that's actually super impressive. So I don't know. I mean, I have no idea how this is going to play out. I don't even know how I want it to play out on Sunday. It's going to be so interesting.
Doug, I'm Bryson. Do you think he has a chance? And is he the guy that can handle that pressure tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I think Matthew Wolff has a couple of shots to play with at 5 under par. I mean, he goes 71-72 tomorrow. I think that might be good enough to win. I think DeChambeau certainly. Yeah, no, he's got the moxie and that power game. I love it. Listen, both guys can. It would be a monumental win for both if somehow they can come through. That final group's going to be, but the chase pack guys. I love the chase pack at Wingfoot. Let's not leave some of those guys out.
Is Louis Oosthuizen one of those guys? I want to quickly get to him because he deserves it. The other player under par at 1 under. He shot rounds of 67, 74, 68. This guy shows up for majors. We know he's got the silver slam. What do you think, Kyle?
Here's my Louis take. I think Louis, if they dial it up and the scoring average is like 76, on Sunday, I think that's awesome for him, because I think that he's somebody who he can keep a clean card. I really think that he has the ability to do that. The problem is if you're going to have to go and get it, and maybe you got to have a little firepower to go and do it. I don't know. I don't see that from him. So I think he wants the course as difficult as possible. Maybe you play Wolff and Bryson out of it, and then all of a sudden he's kind of there atop the carnage at the end.
What do you think about Louis, Doug?
Oh, I love him. I think he should have won more than one major at this point in his career. He's been in contention a lot. I think he's got a legitimate shot tomorrow, a lot like Jeff Ogilvy did a few years back. Remember, he was just kind of hanging around. Nobody really talked about Jeff Ogilvy. And one by one, I mean, Phil blows it. Padraig Harrington, Jim Furyk, Colin Montgomery, and Jeff Ogilvy holds the trophy. So I think, I think Louis with his experience is right there. And let's not forget Hideki Matsuyama. Listen, he's good enough to win a major championship and be the first guy from Japan to ever win a major, to hoist a major championship trophy. Let's not forget Hideki.
Yeah, he's been playing some great golf. I do want to get some picks, but we do have to take a quick break and hear a word from our partner. So when we come back, we're going to get right to picks. Hideki, Louis, who's it going to be? We're going to figure it all out. What's going to happen Sunday at the U.S. Open? But first, let's take a break and hear a word from our partner. Okay, some plays and fades for tomorrow. Who do we like on Sunday? I mean, I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying, okay, well, you got Matthew Wolff at 5 under. That's a pretty big lead over most of the guys there. Bryson at 3, Louis at 1. Couple players like Xander, English, and Hideki at even par, but they're right there. I mean, 5 shots can go away so quickly. Just ask Patrick Reed. So, Doug, I'll start with you. You mentioned Hideki before the break. Is Hideki the guy you're looking at heading into tomorrow, or is there somebody else you think is really going to get it done?
Well, first off, I think Matthew Wolff hitting only 2 fairways today, 26 putts, a fortuitous round in every way. I just don't think Lady Luck is going to shine on him tomorrow, even though he has 2 or 3 shots to play with. I love Hideki. I think he is due, and I'm kind of rooting for him because I've covered him a lot over the last few years. But the guy that I really, really like is Xander Schauffele. I just think he plays so well in major championships. He played so great at East Lake 2 weeks ago. I think his game's in a good spot, and I think he likes coming from behind. So, he's steady Eddie. I'm going with the X-Man.
I love it. X-Man, he was my pick back in January, and I've stuck with it all along. And here we are. We got a chance. I'm hoping that it could pull through. He seems like he's a ways back at 5 under, but Kyle, we'll get to you first here. Who's your guy?
Are you carrying the bag on Sunday or what?
Well, I was going to fill in if he needed me. I'm ready to go. I'm ready.
Okay, so look, there's 7 guys that can win it. It's Wolff and Bryson. So throw them out. They're going to have to come back to the field. So beyond that, this is how I rank them. It's Xander. This is the perfect spot. This is how he wins tournaments. We've talked about this 100 times, Greg. I mean, this is how he won Kapalua. This is how he won HSBC. I think he was behind going into the final round of the Tour Championship as well.
And
back in
Greenbrier, I believe, as well.
Yeah. So this is his deal right here. So I would go Xander. Then I would go, I think I did this on CBSSports.com. Xander. I think I went Hideki because look, if have one freaking round where you make a putt, Hideki, that's it. Just one round. Right? He's second in the field from tee to green. It's Wolff and Hideki. That's it. And he's just not hitting putts. I mean, that's obviously like bigger picture. That's a problem. But if he just hits putts for one, I meing, we could see, where was it a couple years ago? Bridgestone. He shoots 61 final round. Yep. He's not going to shoot 61 at Winged Foot, but if he hits putts, he could shoot a 67 and win this thing by 2 strokes. So I go Xander, I go Hideki, I go Louis, then I go Rory.
Ooh.
And then I go Harris English. So those 5, along with obviously the 2 leaders, I think are the 7 that could potentially win it. Rory's fascinating. I think that him winning at Winged Foot on a fast and firm course on a Sunday would be that'd be a big deal for his career because the majors that he's won, They're soft. And it doesn't take away from him, but it's not really his style. For him to go out shoot 68 on Sunday and win this thing would be pretty impressive. I don't think it'll happen, but I think he faded on Friday with that 76, but it's at least in play. I thought his 68 on Saturday was pretty impressive as well.
You look at Rory as being 6 back, but and again, Matthew Wolff and Bryson, these guys are really in control of this tournament. They can eliminate all those players that you mentioned, Kyle, with really solid play tomorrow. They can start to just knock guys out of contention, and Rory could be one of them. But if they struggle, the numbers say they'll struggle, right? The past history says final group at Winged Foot doesn't usually have that great of a chance, or at least the 54-hole leader. You start to get those guys kind of, if they have a rough day, well, Rory's now suddenly two back. He's right there. So I do think Rory has a real chance.
Well, and here's the thing to watch early. You play those first 5 holes. They're 2.5. They're playing 2.5 over on Saturday. Wolff plays them in 2 under. So you're 4.5 up on the field on the first 5 holes. Right. So if Xander goes out before the leaders and he gets to 6, the drivable par 4, and he's like 1 under on the day, it's like, oh, okay, this is like, that's meaningful. Like that legit means something. So pay attention to the first 5 holes, because I think whoever out of those guys, whoever plays those well, is going to have a shot at taking down Bryson and Wolff.
Well, I love the picks. I'm going to go. I'll just put a period on. I'm going to go Xander. We've come this far, Xander. You and me. If you need somebody on the bag tomorrow, I'm your guy. So I love it. I love the picks. Can't wait to see what happens tomorrow. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today. Kyle, that's Kyle Porter. You can get him on Twitter at Kyle Porter CBS. That's Doug Bell. You can get him on Twitter at Doug Bell Sports Guy. And I'm Greg Harvey. You can get me at The Real GFD. Thank you so much for listening, for watching, and if you're on YouTube, which we are on YouTube. And hey, we'll see you tomorrow.
Can't wait.
Bring up tomorrow. Can't wait. Thanks, boys.
See you guys.